Welcome back to week 3. We're going to talk in this video 4, about metamorphic rocks, and in particular what they are and how they form. And then in the next video we'll go into some of the major steps to identify metamorphic rocks, and then some of the ways to determine the history. So what are metamorphic rocks? Well, they are rocks that have been altered by metamorphism. So basically we take some rock, like an igneous, a sedimentary, or even a metamorphic rock, and then we change the conditions that they are under. So that change that happens is through changing in the environmental conditions. So we change the temperature of the rock, we increase it to a certain point, we change the pressure, maybe hot fluids circulating through the fractures of a rock. All of these are going to cause changes in the arrangement of minerals or changes in the actual composition. And these happen in a variety of ways. The arrangement can change due to the pressure that's applied to these minerals, and also by heating them up, you're changing the stability, we're changing the conditions, so the minerals are no longer stable at that new temperature or new pressure. So they're going to start to rearrange themselves into a position where they, I guess, feel more comfortable. You can think of it that way. The mineral composition can change by maybe bringing in new minerals through these hot fluids. Also, increasing the heat can cause changes in composition because certain minerals are not stable at certain temperatures. So we increase the temperature, bonds break, they rearrange themselves, and you get new minerals that can form. And we'll kind of walk through that process when we start talking about some of the different textures and arrangements of the mineral grains. So the major types of metamorphism that we're going to talk about are regional, contact, and hydrothermal. Your book goes into a few more, but we're just going to focus on these 3. And your book has some great descriptions and diagrams of each of these. I'm going to talk briefly about each of these types. Regional metamorphism, this happens over huge areas, continental scale. So the Appalachian Mountains on the East Coast, the Rocky Mountains are a good example, the Himalayas, huge areas. And usually regional metamorphism happens because you have a convergent plate boundary. So 2 plates are colliding into one another. We've got intense heat, intense pressure at those convergent zones. So mostly it's the pressure. You also get heat from some volcanic activity that might occur. But overall, you've got this huge amount of pressure that starts to alter the rocks. And you'll see it over huge areas. Contact metamorphism, usually you have some kind of magma chamber, some hot material coming in contact with the surrounding rock. So around magma chambers, you can see here in these 3 situations. So that hot magma comes in contact with the surrounding rock or country rock, and it starts to alter the edges. So you kind of have this kind of rind or rim around that magma chamber that shows you where that rock has been altered. And it's kind of like a bathtub ring around that magma chamber. And so this only happens when you come in contact with something. So it happens over much smaller areas. If you have an igneous intrusion like a dike or a sill that forms, you end up having contact metamorphism around the edges of those as well. Sometimes you can see it with the naked eye, sometimes you need to look at it under a microscope. Hydrothermal alteration is where we have hot fluids that filter through rocks. Most common places happens is at divergent plate boundaries. This can also happen anywhere you have groundwater interacting with hot rocks, like hot magma below the surface. So an example would be or maybe around Yellowstone. You got groundwater that filters down, comes in contact with that hot rock, and then filters back up. So you can have hydrothermal alteration. So this is where you have maybe different minerals forming because you have hot fluids that carry dissolved minerals from one place to another. Usually hydrothermal alteration, this is where you get a lot of metals that can form in some of the fractures of rocks. So those are the major types of metamorphism and what metamorphic rocks are and how they form. Make sure you look through your textbook at some of the great images and diagrams that are present. And we'll come back and talk about some of the major steps to identify.